Okay. All right. So the final project in this class, blah, 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 blah. If you really take a step back and look at what we've been building towards this entire quarter, it's this final project. Thank you. Would you mind hitting the lights here? Reading my mind. Wonderful. So everything that we've done, in essence, has been a setup, the foundation for our final project, right? I've been holding your hands for a long, long time. I've been kind of dragging you through this stuff to a certain degree. Well, Mama Bird's about to kick you out of the nest and see if you can fly on your own for a little bit. So in the 10,000-yard description of your final project for this class is a model of your choosing. So you get to make whatever the hell you want to make, right? It can be a character, it can be a spaceship, it can be a car or a tank. I don't care, but I want you to pick something that you're really engaged in. I want you to pick something that you're really super excited to build, because then you're going to throw all of your energy into the construction of that model. At the end of this process, or excuse me, at the end of this project, I want you to walk away with a really good portfolio piece. Something that you can showcase your talents with. Something that you can show maybe, another instructor or maybe even potentially a future employer that you have some 3D modeling chops and you're good at whatever, the stuff that we've learned in this class. The big dark secret about working in the media industry is that you don't really necessarily have to have a degree to work inside of this industry. What do you have to have? What's the absolute requirement? A portfolio. Right. You got to have a portfolio. What does a portfolio give you? What does it produce for you? Yeah, it's a showcase of your talents, right? It's the showcase of what you've learned in your current artistic and creative skill set. Okay, everyone can talk the talk, right? It's really, really, really easy to say that I worked on Star Wars, right? I can just say it. I worked on Star Wars, right? I can put it on my resume. I can even tell an employer I worked on Star Wars. It's incredibly easy for me to say that because I know just from my experience that they're not going to double check. They're not going to go through the credits and look at every single name to make sure that I'm an accredited artist on the film itself, right? But so it's really easy to say that, to make those big claims that you've done these really wonderful things. However, what's cool about our industry, and maybe perhaps why the portfolio is such a requirement these days, is that every employer is going to say, hey, cool, you worked on Star Wars, show me, right? Show me something that you did within that show. If you did work on the show, that means you had access to the models and the animations. You can pull alphas from it, right? You'll have breakdown shots that you produced while you're on the show that will demonstrate that you actually worked on it. Okay, these are things that all portfolios are going to have in them. So it's really our opportunity to really showcase to the world the accomplishments that we've created, right? Our portfolio is a valued kind of part of your employment package, if you will. Okay, you only get really one shot, to make a good impression. Okay, as much as I would hate to say it, you only get one shot. You only someone who's and take this. I've looked at a lot of portfolios. I've done hiring and firing. Okay, on productions and stuff. As someone who's looked at portfolios, you only look at a portfolio one time. You go through it once. And when you see something really amazing, it stands out, you look at it again, right? And then you flip to the next page and you keep going, right? But you only get one shot at it. Yeah.
Do you think digital portfolios are more effective or hard copies?
Yeah. And for now, there's a big difference between like a graphic design portfolio or a photography portfolio. For us in the 3D business, it's all digital, right? We're not print artists, so I'm not going to expect to see a print portfolio. I think it's actually kind of rare to see a print portfolio inside the 3D world, okay? Because we're all of our artwork we create for a computer screen, okay? We don't create for a physical media like a photograph or like a big poster, okay? So the imagery that we put inside of our portfolio needs to be polished, perfect, and devoid of any single thing that would kind of detract from the awesomeness of whatever it is that we've created. And I want you to keep that in mind as you're going through the process of creating your final project in here, that what you're creating is not necessarily for me, it's really for you to help serve your next step, to help serve your future. So put some thought into it. Really consider what you're choosing to build. Don't just make the first thing that pops into your mind. Make something that you know you can knock out of the park. Make something that you are so excited about and you're so engaged in that you're almost forced to put 150% effort into it, okay? Because at this stage, this is not for me anymore. This is for you, okay? This is your creation. It's your artwork that you're creating, for a class. Okay. So consider very, very closely what you're choosing to build. Try as hard as you can to pick a project that you know you can accomplish in basically a couple weeks. Okay. And everyone, when they start this process, I think it's just naturally for us to think big, right? And I can't tell you how many times I've given this talk where someone at the end says, Pat, I have an awesome idea for my final project. I'm going to make Star Wars. And I'm going to go, no, you're not. You're not going to do that. It's impossible. You can't make, a high-quality sub-D model of the Millennium Falcon in 2 weeks. You can't do that, okay? I can't do that, right? So what makes you think you, with a grand total of 9 weeks experience 3D modeling, can do something faster and better and more perfect than someone like me who has, over 15 years experience in 3D modeling? You can't do it, right? It's just impossible. So we got to find something that you can do, right? Something that's reasonable, something that you can just absolutely just crush in a couple weeks, okay? I remember this vividly. I had one student come up to me after class. This was a couple years ago. He's like, Pat, I have an awesome idea for my final project. I know exactly what I'm going to make. I'm going to make me an aircraft carrier. And I went, awesome. And then he went, and I went, oh no. He's like, and I'm going to make like a whole bunch of like F-18s for the go on the top, and like these really cool helicopters with little blades, tucked in on the top of the aircraft carrier. I want to make like some digital sailors that go on the top, like all posed and stuff. And I went, time out, you're not doing that. He's like, but I totally can do this. I don't have a job right now. This is all I can do. And I go, you can't do that, right? It's just impossible. You can't do that, right? And so then we kind of negotiated for a bit, and he came back to it. And he's like, well, maybe can I just make the aircraft carrier? And I went, yes, that is something that you can do over the course of the next couple weeks. That is something that you can just knock out of the park, and I know you can really, really do a great job on, okay? So focus, distill. Don't try to make the entire film of Star Wars in 2 weeks. That's impossible, okay? Think about making one small component, one simple model that you can just absolutely blow out of the water with, okay? It's all about quality, not quantity, okay? We want every pixel in the imagery that you're about to create to be perfect, to be absolutely perfect, okay? Ideas are tough, okay? Ideas are tough to find, okay? I'm a big believer that you find ideas. They just don't naturally kind of pop out. Ideas are kind of like Pokemon. You got to go find them, right? So starting today, I want you to spend, a little bit of time, and depending on your own kind of brainstorming process, I don't know what that time looks like, but I want you to spend some time really thinking about it, okay? Don't just do the first thing you come up with, because that may or may not give you the best results, okay? Know your own talents, okay? If you've really been into the organic modeling component of this class and you've just enjoyed every single moment of making a character, maybe that's a sign. Maybe that's a good indication that you should be choosing to do something on the organic side for your final project. If you loved the Jeep and you loved every single moment of the Jeep, maybe do a hard surface object like that. Do you guys need something? Feel free to interrupt, Don. That's quite okay. So okay. I get the sense that we've forgotten something on the machine. No worries. You're amongst friends. We compress and render things for long periods of time too. So really use the experiences that we've taken in this class, kind of as a guide. If you've really been into one project or another, start there. Okay, start there. There are I've given you guys a couple examples of some really successful student projects to kind of help you understand the direction, the trajectory that we're going on with something like this. They're way down here at the bottom. I should have put them at the top. Okay, so this is kind of an indication of where we're going here. And I've chosen these because they represent a huge spectrum of different types of 3D models and imagery that we can create. It doesn't have to be planes, trains, and automobiles, right? It can be something like a product design, like my favorite hamburger, okay? I love that thing. It's a great portfolio image. It's a product shot for a fictitious, fast food restaurant, okay? Or it could be a cool guitar or an unseen character that we've never seen before, okay? It doesn't have to be entirely based in reality, although that's a good place to start too. If you want to make something from your own imagination, an original concept, I say do it, man. That's kind of what we're here to do, all right? The common thread between all of these images is that they're just perfect all across the board, right? You look at them and you don't see an error. You look at the pictures and you really don't see, part of the model or the render or the textures that's lacking in one area or another, okay? Part of the process of creating a good portfolio image is keeping the experience within the image consistent, right? Our human brain is just like the craziest, funkiest thing on the face of the planet. I love and hate this little thing between my ears, right? Whenever we see a mistake, okay, and let's set this up a little bit differently. Let's pretend we're looking at a portfolio that's got like 10 awesome portfolio samples in there, right? So there's 10 images, but like one of those, or maybe two of those, are of subpar, right? They're of a lower quality than the other 8, right? Are we going to remember the 8 awesome moments, or are we going to focus on the 2 that were bad? Yeah, it's amazing that we're going to focus entirely in the feeling that we're going to leave after looking at that portfolio is that, man, that guy sucks, right? There's those 2 images in there that were absolutely horrible, right? Why did he put those in there? We often forget that it was completely bookended by these fantastic examples of his or hers talents, right? We focus in on the bad things, so we want to make sure that the experience is consistent across the entire portfolio, so that we don't have our audience leaving our portfolio thinking, well, this wasn't that great, because they're going to remember the one thing that sticks out. We always focus and remember the areas of contrast, okay? The areas where something is fundamentally different, okay? So keep that in mind. We're going for perfection across the entire portfolio. Give me 1 second here. I apologize. Whoop. I heard an echo of my voice, and I know that wasn't coming from. It's coming from my laptop because I forgot to turn off the headset. Okay. Questions on that idea? Cool. So think about it a little bit. Consider. Do some digestion a little bit, and just don't jump into it. However, we're on the clock here, so you're going to have to jump into it and make a decision in the not-too-distant future, okay? You're going to get some time in class today, a lot of time in class today to start this process. I want you to do some research, some investigation, consider a couple different possibilities, and then you're going to have to make a decision. That doesn't mean you can't change your mind or the decision, you're locked into that decision for the remainder of this project. You can swap projects. I do that all the time. I get into something and go, you know what, this isn't what I thought it was going to be, or maybe I want to do something else, and I change my mind pretty quickly. However, this time next week, you need to be zeroed in on what you're building for your final project, because we just don't have the hours left in the quarter to get this thing done in a reasonable amount of time. Okay? Because on the 23rd, the last meeting of our quarter here is when this project's due, and we're going to take a look at them in class. Okay, it's a hard deadline. Okay, you got to have it in on the Thursday of March 23rd. That's the physical last day. I think that's when our final exam for this class is scheduled, right? Do I have that right or do I have that wrong? The 23rd is a Thursday, the final exam weeks. Yes. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was right, but yeah. So we're going to come. We're going to look at all the projects that are submitted. Okay. And we'll kind of use this as a nice opportunity just to wrap things up. Okay. Is it at 10 o'clock?
Yeah.
It is.
Or actually, because that class is on Mondays and Wednesdays, but the final is on a Thursday.
Well, that's odd.
I know. So
Yeah. Okay, let's talk after class, or maybe during lab we can figure something out, for sure. But I think it's important that we all come together on the last class and just see what we've built and what we've created. Yeah, what you got?
It's actually from
How in the world can they schedule?
Friday.
Okay, well, I'm teaching another class at Friday at 1 p.m., so that's not going to work. If possible, let's try to meet on Thursday at 10. It won't be for very long, maybe 45 minutes or an hour, just to look at all the projects that were turned in. I'm only on campus on Tuesdays and Thursdays during this class time, and the rest of my professional life is filled up by the other classes that I teach. So I'm just not. It shocks me that they schedule a final exam on a day that we don't normally have class. That just boggles my mind. But whatever. We'll manage that. I don't think anyone will have a problem with us, wrapping up our class, 24 hours early. Okay, questions on the content. What we're going to be striving to build. for our final project in here? Everyone kind of understanding the big grand scope of it all? Okay. Now, one of the things, there are some things that I'm going to be looking at everyone to do, some common threads between the project itself. And if you go into the creative concept and the technical specification area, you can see a pretty good understanding of what you're going to be asked to create. Okay. So creatively, naturally, you're going to be designing, modeling, and texturing an object of your choosing. Doesn't matter what. I want you to be in love with it. Okay. In addition, we're going to continue to practice our technique. And I'm an old school 3D modeler, so I fundamentally believe that all models begin and end with reference. We have to collect reference. We have to know what the shape looks like before we are ever going to be able to create. On an original concept design, I think that's a great idea. Do some sketching, okay? Organize your brain and kind of create a battle plan from the simple little concept designs that you're going to create, okay? Do at least 3 of them, okay? And if you're choosing to make some original concept work, each one of those sketches, try to make it from a different angle, okay? So you can really get a good sense of the dimensionality of that concept before we start building it in 3D, okay? Concept sketches, do a great job of helping us very, very quickly organize our brains, and kind of get us, marching down that path, okay? So lighting, add a couple lights in there. Just don't rely exclusively on that single default light. We've talked a little bit about lighting in here earlier in the semester. Put a couple lights in there, okay? That's going to help and go a long, long way to continue to sculpt and mold your object with light. Okay. Now the cool thing about teaching this class to a whole bunch of film students is you probably have a lot of great experience already with lighting. Use that experience. Place the lights in the computer like you would in the real world, and you're going to find that the mental ray rendering engine is going to behave quite predictably. Okay. It's a great thing about working with the technology that we have. It's built off of the foundation of what we'd see practically on set. So, one thing, you're going to make 3 different renders on this, okay? 3 different pictures that shows the totality of the object that you've created, okay? These have to be pretty unique angles, so don't have it be like if I was doing a render of Sakura, and like this is a shot, and like no, make them drastically different angles so we can see, kind of all 3 areas of this this object. Okay, that's really going to help both you and your portfolio, because now we just don't have one illustration of the thing that we've created. We have a number of different ones, and it's best to have something to edit to. We can say, okay, this is the really good one. This is not the really good one. If we only have one, then we're kind of up a creek. Okay, all right. Also, be good image creators. Incorporate the rule of thirds, okay? Think about composition a little bit, where we're going to place the subject or the focal point of our render inside the frame of the image itself. Consider that. And at the end of the day, since we're not really working in the game space at this moment, we're fundamentally in the business of 2D. We use these 3D tools to create a whole series of 2-dimensional images. So we can't forget about those core art techniques. That's going to yield some pretty fantastic imagery. Okay. The renders that you're going to be making are going to be at 1280 by 720 at a pixel aspect ratio of 1.0. Basically the default settings in Maya. Okay, so there's not really a whole lot that you have to change in there, but just double check. Go into your render settings, triple check, make sure everything's set and locked and ready to go before you hit that render button. In addition, you please rental. That's when you render and mental happens at the same time. Please render in the mental ray rendering engine. The results are going to be far, far superior to what you get with the Maya software rendering engine. If you're working on your own PC or Mac, a number of you guys have laptops, which is fine. Make sure that you've installed mental ray, you've activated it, and everything is dialed and ready to rock and roll before you hit that magical render button. Okay. Clean geometry. Try your best to make this the best model you've ever made. In our world, the final result is graded on two kind of fronts: the creative front and the technical front. More so than any other art form, how we create our models is important. Okay, as we've seen from the rigging component of this class, we have to place some geometry in some very specific areas to ensure that we're getting the correct deformation of our mesh. Okay. In our world, it's like 50-50 art technology, right? The technology and how we create our mesh is probably almost as important as what we create, okay? So I want you to make this the best model you've ever made, okay? Take some pride in your craftsmanship. Be proud of the work that you've accomplished and that you've created. Again, kind of go back to the idea that this is supposed to be a project that you can use to showcase the stuff that you've learned in this class. If you're out there in the real world and someone says, hey, do you have some 3D experience? You whip out these renders and say, yeah, I have some 3D experience. Look how cool I did. Okay, look what I did. Okay. The same goes with all the textures too. Okay, so if you're going to be placing some textures on any of your geometry, pay really close attention to how those textures are being mapped onto the surfaces of your geometry. And try your best to make sure that there's no noticeable distortions or texture stretching, as they say, going across the surface of your geometry. That breaks the reality and the illusion pretty quickly. When you see, a noticeable stretch in the texture, when something looks warped or distorted, we want to reduce those as much as we can to ensure that, like I said, every pixel in the image is absolutely perfect. Okay? Questions on this? No one, not a single question. I did it so well. I explained it just so perfectly on the first time that everyone's just like, okay, I got this. Yeah.
Can I put, for the final image, can I put, for example, I made the character from the final project and then put him on the Jeep I made it?
Sure. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. So the question was, can I make a character and put him in the Jeep? Yeah, I think that's a great thing. Yeah, I have no problem with recycling an asset or something that we've created before, but that asset should be complementary to the other thing that we're creating, right? I would still probably recommend that the focal point of the renders be the character that's in the Jeep. Okay. Yeah, I think that's fine. Yeah, I have no problem with recycling stuff. Okay, but it can't be the focal point. Like rocks and trees, like I refuse to make a rock or like a model of a tree. I'm not doing that. That's a waste of my time, right? Because I can go on to an online store and for $5 buy 10 models of a tree pretty quickly, right? I can't do anything for $10 in the 3D world, right? That's like me. It's $10 is me opening up Maya. That's how much money it costs. Okay, so you're free to use models of rocks and trees for if you want to do an outside. I wouldn't even want to model those. It's a waste of our time. And I'm very thankful for the artists out there who spend all of their time making tree models or models of a bush, right? And there's a healthy ecosystem, by the way. I'm sure there are folks out there that have a nice living just making models of trees. I don't have the patience for that, where like every leaf is on the tree. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm being silly. Okay, other questions? Okay, so if you need an idea, if you're trying to find some good resources on where you can go, of course, the research on the object that you're choosing is going to play a big role in what you're able to make. Okay, and sometimes finding an idea can be a little bit of a challenge. Don't ever, kind of marginalize the power of Google. Okay, do an image search. Start finding some inspiration out there. One of my go-to resources, and this is really focused on the hard surface world, but they do have some organic stuff in there as well that's worth pointing out. My go-to resource whenever I'm trying to find some good orthographic imagery of a hard surface object is the-blueprints.com. Okay, it's a great resource. Okay, and what you're going to find here is a database of orthographic blueprint style schematic drawings of just about everything on the face of the planet. Now, before we go any further, I think it's really important to point out that their business model is all about selling you vector drawings of these blueprints, okay? And if you notice down here at the bottom, it's like, here's the latest vector drawings, and you can give us, $20 to get all the, to get this little schematic blueprint of the Chevy Bel Air, in a vector form, which is kind of cool, right? That's neat. However, there is, I'd say, 75% of the stuff on the website is free. You have to go up over here to this part of the database, the Blueprints database. Not vector drawings, Blueprints database, okay? And they've categorized it all, okay? There's a lot of stuff in here. So if you wanted to make a model, now I'm a really big Star Wars nerd. So if I wanted to make a model of, let's see, here we go. I wanted to make a model of like TIE fighter or something. I don't know why the A-wing is in there. That's a Rebel Alliance thing. Me being a nerd, sorry. Okay, so here's the classic Imperial shuttle. So there's some good orthographic drawings of that. Okay, so there's just, it's all over the place. Now, one thing that you may want to pay real close attention to is the views that you'll see in here. Okay, so check it out. This column stands for front, top, rear, and side. Okay, I always try to find an image that has all four, right? So here's the Imperial Star Destroyer. Let's see what it gives me. Maybe, maybe not. Hold on a second. There it is. Okay. So we can get orthographic drawings that we can use. Yeah, great, right? Pretty fun. Okay. Orthographic drawings that we can use as backdrop images inside of Maya to very quickly create our models. One small thing, and this is the rookie mistake that a lot of folks make when they're working with this resource. Look very carefully down here at the bottom. It says original image dimension, 948 pixels by 1100 pixels. Okay? Is that picture, what we're seeing right here, 948 by 1100? No, okay? That's a low-resolution thumbnail image of the entire blueprint itself, of the image itself. To get access to the high-resolution one, so this original image, just make sure you sign up for the site. You have to create a user account. It's free. They're not going to charge you anything to sign up. And then once you log in, you'll be able to download all the high-resolution imagery from the site. And then they're going to try to make you buy like a vector drawing every now and again. And I've actually bought one of the vector drawings from the site. It's fun, right? But I can do the exact same thing, pretty quickly and pretty easily with the free one. Okay, so it's pick and choose how you want to use your money. What's this car data stuff? This is new. Let's do Bentley, because you too can model. Or oops, did I not click on it? You too can spend $250,000 on a car where 6 cows were sacrificed to make it. Joking, by the way. There's that much leather on the inside of the Bentley. Bad joke. Anyways, all right. So explore the site. There's a lot of stuff here. It kind of easily gets filed into. If it's not in here, it doesn't exist on our planet. They have blueprints for just about everything. Do some research. Poke around. You'd be surprised what you can find. I think the one big criticism of this website is that they have everything named exactly the way that they're named out there in the real world. So if you're trying to make a model of a car, and let's do a Ferrari, because who doesn't like Ferraris? There they are, right? If you don't know the exact name and year of a Ferrari, you're going to be clicking on a lot of images to see which one you find, right? Because they're named, precisely. The Dyno 246 GT. What's that one look like? Boring. I want my Ferrari to look like it comes from space. There you go, Ferrari 156. That's cool. Kind of lame. Anyways, all right. Yeah. I'm sure the guys in Italy right now are cursing me. What? What's this one? I have no idea. Some of the old school Ferraris are kind of neat. Stuff from the 60s is kind of fun. I've never been a big fan of the automotive design from the 80s. That's just me. What's this one look like? That's cool, right? So there's some really useful and pretty powerful imagery on this website that will help you build these models, okay? There's also, and this is the last thing I'll talk about when it comes to the database, there's also a category in here for humans or organic stuff. This is not so great, but it's there, okay? I think this is the one area on the website that just needs a lot of work. The anatomy stuff is straight out of Grey's Anatomy for the most part. It's mediocre at best. It's not something that we can really use in a compelling way to make a 3D model quickly, but it's a good reference image nonetheless. Okay. The comic book character one's kind of fun. Okay. Like here is Andromeda, which is kind of cool. Kind of straight out of the 60s. Yeah. Ape Man. Who's Ape Man? That's Ape Man. Fun stuff. Okay. So build what you want. Use this as one of many different reference resources to help you create a really cool, compelling model. In addition, try to find as much reference imagery as you can to build the object itself. You almost have to turn into a subject matter expert on the damn thing to really understand, all the different parts and pieces to fill in the blanks. Because the blueprints are only going to give you, or these orthographic drawings are only going to give you about 50% of the information that you need to really make a good model out of it. Let me show you. I practice what I preach. Okay. So I'm just a big 3D modeling super nerd. Okay. Let's see. Let's see if I have anything. Yeah, actually that's an old image. Let's do this. That's right. Okay. So here is a model that I've been making and working on for a long time. I started this model the very, very first semester that I started teaching, almost 10 years ago. And during that first semester, I very quickly, at the conclusion of the fall semester, I learned that I had a winter break. And I was like, this is the first time I've ever had a winter break as a teacher. And I had nothing to do for a month. And my wife was working, and I was like, what am I going to do for a month? I have nothing to do, right? And me being a nerd that I was, I want to make a model of the HMS Victory, which is the flagship of the British Navy, kind of right around the War of 1812, kind of that era, right? And I was like, I want to make a model. This is going to be a whole lot of fun, right? I can just bang it out in a month. It'll be great. This is all live and breathe, this model. And it's still not done. It's still not done. It kind of turned very quickly into a labor of love, something that I kind of poked around at for a long time. I kind of went maybe a little too far with the model, okay? A little too far, because I actually created the outside and the inside of the entire ship, okay? So it may be a little difficult to see in some of the renders, because these are just some test renders that I did. And this is still very much a work in progress. You can see that there's little cannons in here. There's all the decks. Let's see. You can kind of see it in this one. Let's see. Nope. I made the back, all the spindles and stuff, and the trim and everything. It turned out to be. It is a pretty cool model. I'm pretty happy with the majority of what I've created. There's still a lot of work on there left to be done. Like the sails. I hate the sails. The sails drive me absolutely crazy. Next time I have some free time, I need to go back in and remodel the sails because they just don't work. Drapery is the hardest thing to capture realistically. To make it feel like it's a heavy piece of fabric or as fabric as a whole, it's tough, and I need to go back in and continue working on that. Anywho, this is a 1-to-1 scale model of the damn thing, right? And it's a 1-to-1 scale model because I practice what I preach. I believe very directly in research, okay? And so I have a gigantic folder here called reference, okay? Here is the actual boat itself, okay? And I tried to find as many pictures of that darn boat as I possibly could find, okay? There's a whole bunch of them in here. There's lots of pictures, okay? And what's also pretty engaging is that I found a book, okay? I found a book that had all the schematic blueprints for the ship, and I bought the book on Amazon, and then the moment I got it the moment it showed up at my door, I proceeded to rip all the pages out of the book, and I scanned them. I scanned as much as I could because they had all the profile shapes of the entire hull in there. I could see every single little bit of detail on the interior of the ship, and then including all the important details. And I used all of this as the foundation for my model itself. Okay. This is the level of detail that one needs to go in to really get a good portfolio class image, okay? You have to be a subject matter expert on the thing that you're choosing to build. So be an expert, okay? And if you're making something original, some concept work, sketch it out. Be real comfortable with the design that you're choosing to make before you make it in 3D. Working in a two-dimensional form with quick sketches is easy. Working in 3D, not easy. You don't want to have to be doing design work in 3D because, as you guys are well aware, that's when it gets extraordinarily tough. Okay, when we get over into Maya, it is construction time, not design time. Okay, we want to use these images basically as our blueprint. Okay, our battle plan. And then when we jump over into 3D, we're not having to create something. We're just executing that battle plan. Okay, does that make sense? So the first phase of any big project is probably the most important phase because it sets the entire foundation for the rest of the show. Okay? Pretty fun, huh? I think it's fun, but then again, I made the darn thing, so I'm kind of a little biased. Very biased, actually. Okay? Questions? Everyone good? Yeah? Yep. Kind of understanding the size and scope of what it is that we're trying to create here? Okay. So it's about 11 o'clock. We have a couple things that we need to get done absolutely today. So by the end of today, if possible, and seriously, I would like you to try to work as hard and as fast as you can to get the human body model done, okay? Because I know some of you guys are still working on it. We need to get that done, okay? In addition, I also want you to throw the rig in real fast on the green dude, okay, and get that done today. Because I want you to be able to take the rest, basically the next 2 weeks and focus exclusively on your file project, okay? I don't want you to have to, come back, oh man, it's like I got to do my rig still. I got to get that done real fast. Get all these low-hanging fruit out of the way, and then we can completely mentally transition over into our final project. Sound good? Okay. So I'm going to give you guys the rest of class today to start working on your final project. We're wrapping up those two previous assignments and tie up all the loose ends, as they say. Sound good? All right. Let's get to work.